Hi, my name is Dave Tyagi, and I'm the co host of the Core Point podcast, where we bring you musings, salutations, tributes, and general discussion about the great game of cricket, which you and me can't live without, for it is truly oxygen of our lives. I'm joined here today by cricket writer Pranay Rangra, who also
Right.
happens to be a football writer, but luckily today he's ditched his soccer passion for the cricket mania. And we are two huge fans of South Africa and West Indies. Sometimes it appears like I have more love for South Africa than he. And he also trades places with me, which is fantastic. We were wanting to discuss this upcoming series with South Africa touring the West Indies after well over half a decade's time, during which a lot have changed. Perhaps not generally speaking the dance moves of the Pandya brothers, but let's talk about how it is with South Africa touring the West Indies. They'll be led by who's the leader of South Africa for this tour? The
Dean Elgar is the Test captain, and Temba Bavuma is the ODI and the T20 captain. So,
new opportunities for two fantastic batsmen and Jason Holder back to donning the Test whites, but in a very very different circumstance. We don't really see Holder playing South Africa all that much. But more important than that random realization is the fact that we don't really see these two Davids, not Goliaths of the cricket world, as they once were, playing against each other. So my first point of question to Pranay is that why is it that we don't really see South Africa and West Indies lock-ons as regularly as they should? Because the common fact is that India, who played England recently in the subcontinent, are going to again play them back in England. But none of that luck for the West Indies or South Africa. Why do you think that is?
uh, thanks for that question, Dave. It's a known fact that these days profit overpowers performance in cricket. So that's a given, and we've seen the IPL prosper to peaks unparalleled. And yeah, so that brings me to this point that there was a time when South Africa and West Indies were two powerhouses. South Africa even so more recently, but such is the power of money in the game that obviously the viewership that these two teams command is far lesser than the big three. So it basically comes down to the fact that the big three play each other more often because commercial is the game and performance is maybe a sub game. So I would think
Yeah,
that's the reason that you see more of India playing Australia, India playing England, and vice versa. And in fact, India and England now have five tests also when they play in England. So that takes away from the whole charm of the Ashes also, which I thought was the pinnacle of Test cricket with the five Test series. And now, if you see two other
yeah,
nations also doing that, it's rather sad because it was almost 10 years to this date that South Africa traveled to the West Indies under Graham Smith. And truth be told, we've actually had more than two, three captains leading South Africa till the time they last toured West Indies. So, which actually gives you the magnitude of the gap. So, yes, profit overplays performance. So, I think that's why such underdog series we don't see that often.
I think speaking of Prophet, I think in all due respect, only Prophet Muhammad can save the plight of the not so rich cricket boards, West Indies and South Africa, that is, who really deserve to play a lot more and perhaps also warrant a greater worldwide attention into the games. Specifically speaking, that see when it comes to raw talent, something which is the building block of your cricketing career, our attention is, and rightly so, always resting with Pakistan, but we keep forgetting that these are two teams which have time and again given so much to the cricketing world. Like even right now, the West Indies team, which fundamentally speaking is still in the process of its rebuilding phase, is full of massive talent. Hetmeyer, for example, who does not find himself being selected for the South Africa tour, is raw talent. A little bit of coaching and guidance can really help him hone his skills better. You have people like Sherfin Rutherford. You have people like Nicholas Pooran who need no introduction now on, except the fact that if you want to harp on his golden ducks in the IPL, then it's different because it appeared that he came to India to just do chick farming But and on the other hand, South Africa are blessed with raw talent. Which are some of the key players you think, as a fan, having been an avid observer of their game, are going to are going to leave a special impact in this series, Pranay?
So if I were to talk about youngsters, I would identify two players particularly. One is Keegan Peterson. He's a southpaw and he's been playing his cricket with, if I'm not mistaken, the Cobras or the Knights. I'm not sure, one of those. And he's been scoring heaps of runs in the domestic circuit. He's been in and around the South African team for the last couple of years. From the time England had toured South Africa way back in 2019, end of 2019. So he's been there and thereabouts. He definitely deserves a call. And the other one is my personal favorite, Kyle Varane. He's the next big
Who
thing in South
hasn't
African
been
cricket.
picked? Who hasn't been picked? And
Who
that's a
has it?
shocker of it.
Yeah, so he was picked in one of the ODIs against Pakistan, the recently concluded ODIs. I was as surprised as maybe anyone else that he wasn't there in the T20 side. So he definitely merited a selection. And as it comes to this Test series, if I was the selector or if I was Mark Boucher, the coach, I would actually blood in both of them in the playing 11 because at the expense of Razi van der Dusen and Themba Bavuma, because they've been there but they haven't scored. Like Themba, from the time he's debuted, has only scored one century. So I would give these two guys a chance and let Razi and Themba be out of the game for a bit to harness their skills, to hone their skills better. They can come back stronger. And these two guys can get a good exposure in the Caribbean on the low and slow pitches and see how what they have to offer. Because if you just keep them in and around the team and don't give them a chance, maybe they'll
It's
just be in
pointless.
and around and one fine day they'll just call it quits. And we really don't want that. So in the batting
And
department, yeah.
right. And speaking of Rassi, as a fan of the Proteas myself, one of the finest memories that I would love to recall is his brilliance against Australia in the 2019 World Cup. The only encounter where a century came from the bat of a South African, that being the then captain Faf du Plessis. Had he not been at the other end, and I'm talking about Van der Dusen, they won't have been able to stitch that vital middle over partnership, which took them to a position of ascendancy, as a result of which South Africa won that game and
At
to
least they
beat
finished on
Australia.
a high.
At least they finished on a high. Yeah.
Yeah.
Instead
No,
of
true.
gulping down the Chardonnays in the hotels and then finishing on another high. But that was memorable innings from Rassi, which really gives me the confidence that down in the Caribbean, he will hold his own position. He brings that quiet sense of reassurance about South Africa, a team which certainly needs it right now. What do you think?
Yeah, true. I have to agree with you, but I would beg to differ in the test whites. I would possibly have him. He's a surety in the limited over setup, but in the test whites, he's been given his chance. He's been getting those 50s and the 60s, but he's never gone on to score something big. So I think it's time that he sort of revisits his game, just sits out for the test series, just hones his skills better. Meanwhile, we see what the youngsters have to offer. Same is the case with Themba Bavuma. He's been phenomenal when it comes to limited overs, especially when he opens with Dickov. And yes, so if Keegan Peterson and Kyle Varane, as I said, they both get a chance, we see what they have to offer, what they bring to the table, and we can take it from there. Because Razi is anyways close to 32, 33, if I'm not mistaken. I would
Yeah,
rather
he's
see him in the limited
a bit
over setup. And the buzzwords these days in South African cricket is a team in transition. I've been hearing that since the last 2.5, 3 years. I don't know when will the transition complete, but the transition can only complete if you blood in youngsters
absolutely
and give them a long road.
which is absolutely beautiful to hear, because if you were to shorten the words team in transition, it translates to tit, which I hope becomes tit for tat down in the Caribbean. Any memories that come to your mind from the 2016 period when South Africa last went down to the Caribbean?
2016,
Yeah,
uh,
2016, the last time South Africa were in the Caribbean.
2010.
Yeah, 2016 was actually a try series, and I, as a fan,
2016, the Tri Series. Yeah.
and
South
I,
Africa obviously didn't play well in that, so it's not ingrained in my memory, as you could see. Because the
it
last
was
time that
West Indies and Australia in the final
that's
of the
right,
try
that's
series.
right, that's right. I think South Africa barely managed to win one game, if I'm not mistaken, and that too against the West Indies. The final was contested between the might of the West Indies and the class of the Australians, and the Proteas were actually nowhere. So such was a performance that I can barely remember that series. So when you said 2016, I was thinking it's 2010. So you can imagine, but that's right.
So
2016 we
even
were
your
there.
memories, you hit
In
a
fact,
six. You go
we had
six
come there after the debacle we had in the
years.
2016 T20 World Cup that was held in India, where we were touted as one of the favorites, and still we managed to do what we do best: deceive.
Hmm, that must have
And
been
so,
tough. Yeah. So 2010, what do you particularly remember about the 2010 South Africa tour of the
so I
Caribbean?
remember the way Graham Smith, Jacques Kallis, and rising AB de Villiers dominated the series, particularly in the test matches and the ODIs. I think the ODIs was a 5-0 whitewash, the T20s was a 2-0 or a 3-0 whitewash. And one test was drawn and one they won. Actually, truth be told, that time South Africa was the team to beat. They were in the top
To the
in
mighty
all
ones.
three formats, and it was a rather expected result. I wouldn't expect anything less with a team that has Dale Steyn, Moni Morkel, Cam Smith, Imran Tahir, Jacques Kallis, AB de Villiers to go and outrightly dominate the West Indies. But
Right.
coming down to the present day, I would, as you rightly said, this would be a series of the two Davids because South Africa has been a team in transition and the West Indies has been rather unpredictable. Uh, but with the likes of Kyle Myers and Boner and others, I believe Roston Cheers is also back. It would be something to look
Um,
forward to,
yeah,
not
yeah,
if
yeah.
you are a big three fan, but if you truly appreciate cricket and appreciate performances, the way Dean Elgar also bats, it's worth every penny as much as a Virat Kohli. So
In terms of concentration, the dean of any
the
university of batsmen.
concentration, the grit, the determination. So I'm actually really excited about Dean Elgar's captaincy, in truth, because he will bring his qualities to the table. And he's already talked about the more centuries we get and the more fifers we get, we should be able to be in a good position. So the
And I
talk is
think
there.
to
Now we need to
and I
see
think
what's.
to right,
Sorry?
right. I'm saying in order to enable South Africa to get those regular fifers, outstanding batsmen like John Campbell are already out there, whose highest score I believe was 164, which he hit on a PlayStation. But on a serious note, I'm personally perplexed by his selection into the Test squad because I think somebody like a Kyron Powell, the left-hander, is more suited to open the innings with the dogged and take it slow Craig Brathwaite. And I think I made a massive error of judgment by calling Jason Holder the captain in the Test format when it is
Take
Craig
Brathwaite.
Brathwaite. But it's I think the error is simply down to my love for Jason Holder, who I genuinely feel is the best all rounder in the West Indies team at present. Um, Somebody who's going to bring a lot of value. Somebody you don't associate with massive pace, but man, he's the guy who can get the ball talking. Speaking of which, I think the returning Kemar Roach from his English county stint is going to be posing a few questions on the South African batsman because he ended his last test, I believe, with 9 wickets, and it was just brilliant. And it's the kind of exposure that West Indians need. And I also often wonder if Alzari Joseph, who's gonna also hopefully play a key part in this series, were to be trained in the art of batting. He's already hit, I think, if I'm not mistaken, at least 2 half centuries in Test cricket. And the way he batted quarter of a year before in Bangladesh in those testing subcontinental conditions, which are as familiar as seeing Roshan Chase bowling right hand medium pace, was something to be really admired. So Joseph should also be taught and be made into an accomplished batsman. But you are absolutely right. Batsmen like Mayers and Nkrumah Bonner are going to should hopefully, create the difference with the bat.
I like this whole thing that you mentioned about Kemar Roach playing county cricket, which brings me to the South African bowling attack also. So I had expressed this on social media also that I was very keen to see the likes of Simon Harmer and Kyle Abbott in the team simply because they've honed their skills in county cricket. Simon Harmer is possibly one of the better off spinners in world cricket right now. He was the leading wicket taker in this ongoing county championship.
Okay.
And Kyle Abbott is number three. So I would have wanted to see them complement the likes of Keshav Maharaj, Andrik Nokia, Lungi Ngidi, and obviously a superstar Kagiso Rawada. But that
But
hasn't happened.
how looking forward are you to the prospect of seeing Bavuma star in a photo shoot with Jason Holder, the two men being absolutely polarizations of each other's heights? Would a photo shoot be possible with Bavuma and Jason Holder together in one frame? And let's say the photo being bombed by somebody like Raheem Cornwall. Let's say this becomes the happy ending of a series where neither team wins, but both teams hold on to a brave draw. Imagine that funny prospect.
I would see that as a big bat, a mini bat, and a football together, which would be
Mighty
quite
football,
interesting, so to
mighty
speak.
football
But
gets presents.
uh, but I mean, coming back to more serious business, I was very keen to have Kyle Abbott and Simon Armour in the team. Simon Armour more so because you have Keshav Maharaj and George Linda, who are two left-arm spinners, and if they would be complemented by an off-spinner, that would hold good for South Africa considering the low and slow West Indian tracks. And Kyle Abbott for the simple reason that he could serve as a mentor for the likes of Kagiso Rabada, Lungi Ngidi, and Andrik Nokia with Andrek Nokia recently being Men's Player of the Year also in the Cricket South Africa Award. So there could be that the vital experience in the bowling attack. I mean, make no mistake, I'm not saying this bowling attack is not good, but I would obviously want the strongest South African team of the park. And truth be told, if that happens, we no longer will be a team in transition.
Absolutely. And with the re-emergence of talents like Kyle Abbott,
Yeah.
who can now play almost a mentor-like role to all these the budding off spinners and the established fast bowlers. It's going to be a very very interesting challenge, to a die-hard fan of the West Indies, who would stay awake at night just to see Brian Lara complete his three figures, which was often the case sometimes even before lunch, before Mr. Sehwag emerged on the scene to change the proceedings. I'm really interested if the West Indian batting is really up and ready for this South African challenge because, as you rightly mentioned, their bowling attack looks very very promising. But I think one factor which may play its role, which could, and this is no fan speak, play well into the hands of the West Indians is that South Africans are not really aware of the West Indian conditions. After day three, invariably all pitches begin to slow. We saw in the recent series against Sri Lanka when spinners like Abul Dinia and bowlers like I keep forgetting his name. This is the 74-year-old man trying to remember uh, some of the statistics. Most Sri Lankan bowlers, I beg your pardon, suffered after day three. They were just not able to get the West Indian batsmen out, and that's something which batsmen like Nkrumah Bonner used to his advantage. He also scored his debut Test century in the West Indies, and that was brilliant. In fact, it was his first Test century of the career, having come very close at reaching the three-figure mark in Bangladesh. But what do you think the difference Rakeem Cornwall, someone like Cornwall, could bring? He's been constantly among the wickets. Is a wicket-taking off spinner.
Yeah, look, I've been a big fan of off spinners, more than left arm spinners, and the kind of purchase they can get on a turning track is phenomenal. So, plus this guy gets those revolutions on the ball. I would see him as a big threat to the South African batting attack. And needless to say, his batting abilities also become threatening to our bowling attack. So he's a vital cog in your West Indian wheel. And on a lighter note, they both seem round, so maybe they might work better in tandem.
Yeah, absolutely. Unless they were to be joined
We
by
love
another
you,
team, that could
Rahim
really
Conway.
go wrong. We do love you. We do love you.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of weight in our words as we talk about you, and words of encouragement and absolute adoration towards you, Mr. Cornwall. Um, I was just curious to know, over all these years with teams like India, becoming a massive behemoth of a force, and you are an Indian, unless very much I'm mistaking that Mr. Ramaphosa has offered you a South African passport. Why have you
Okay.
stuck by? What has made you stuck to South Africa? What's this passion for South Africa being an Indian?
Uh, it's as much as what you have for the West Indies being an Indian. Uh,
Okay.
uh, Look, since my childhood, I've always been an underdog supporter, and honestly, the kind of passion and the kind of unity, not so much unity, but the way these South Africans go about their business to try and be the best in the world is something that really fascinates me. And truth be told, I have been a Nelson Mandela fan since college. So through him, through this great man, I've taken to the South African sport. And there's no one reason I can describe. Just that whenever I see them, as I mentioned earlier, also I see performance holds more value than profits do. Obviously, IPL here has sort of diluted things, but when I see the likes of Dean Elgar, when I saw Jack Carlis, Hansi Cronje, Graham Smith, they just brought this fierceness to the table, which like really struck a chord in my heart. And I mean, the feeling is beyond words. It's as much something as you would feel for Brian Lara as is what I feel for South Africa, which is something beyond words.
And what I also feel every
It's maybe
time
my
Shea Hope,
expression speaks it all.
right, right, well said, well said. It's exactly what I also feel when Shea Hope makes runs in Test cricket, which happens only when the Halley's comet collides with the Earth. But
They
but
will never
his
let you lose
wonderful,
hope. Don't worry.
yeah. And you should never shy since you are powered by hope. So this was us, caught at points. Pranay Rangra and Dev Tyagi discussing a bit about two fascinating teams locking horns in a few days' time. Rather make it 120 hours unless my mathematics teacher were to come here and slap me. This is the first podcast. Please support us. We are growing each day. Every second, check out our articles on coratpoint.com. The man on your screen, Pranay Rangra, has almost taken over the Proteas Fire section, and his encouraging pieces and thought provoking articles have actually struck a chord with many around the world. And be sure to find us on YouTube. And if you like this podcast, just put your valuable thoughts and comments, and even pelt a shoe on me on the comment section for the terrible jokes that I cracked. And if you didn't, then you can buy me a Ferrari, which should look exactly like this, because this isn't a Ferrari. So Pranay Rangra and Dev Tyagi signing off. Thank you for
Thank you.
listening to us. We'll be back soon with another new edition of Correct Point Podcast. Cheers, guys.
Thank you.